But Jesus wasn't finished with them. He called his disciples and said, "I hurt for these people. For 3 days now they've been with me, and now they have nothing to eat. I can't send them away without a meal. They'd probably collapse on the road." His disciples said, "But where in this deserted place are you going to dig up enough food for a meal?" Jesus asked, "How much bread do you have?" "7 loaves," they said, "plus a few fish." At that, Jesus directed the people to sit down. He took the 7 loaves and the fish. After giving thanks, he divided it up and gave it to the people. Everyone ate. They had all they wanted. It took 7 large baskets to collect the leftovers. Over 4,000 people ate their fill at that meal. After Jesus sent them away, he climbed in the boat and crossed over to the Magadan Hills.
Hi, it's Pastor Aaron here. I just want to share a few words of wisdom from Matthew chapter 15, verses 32 to 39, where Jesus feeds 4,000 with a few loaves of bread and some fish. And it's a very beautiful story because it displays the hospitality or the radical hospitality of Jesus. Jesus has been ministering on the east side of the Sea of Galilee, which is Gentile territory. He has previously ministered to 5,000 Jewish people and fed them with bread and fish. But this also highlights Jesus extending his reach to the Gentiles. And in this particular story, Jesus has been preaching, he's been teaching, he's been healing, and the crowd is getting ready to leave. They're getting ready to go away. And Jesus said, we can't send them off hungry. We can't send them off because they may pass out on their way home. It's some 3 days journey to where they're trying to get. And so Jesus turns to his disciples and said, you get them something to eat. And one of the disciples said, well, we only have a few loaves of bread and some fish. And Jesus said, bring it to me. And he prays over it and blesses it. And there are 7 baskets that they have. And so Jesus begins to disperse the fish and the bread and tells the disciples to have the crowd to sit down in groups of 50 and 100. The servants, the disciples begin to see that the bread and the fish begin to multiply. So they're obeying Jesus, and somewhere between them serving the crowd, the fish and the bread begins to multiply. And they begin to see what Jesus is able to do with a few fish and some loaves of bread. Now, if you put bread and fish in my hand, it's just a lunch. It's just a meal. But if you put bread and fish in Jesus' hands, it's a buffet. And that's what they experienced on that day. And I think when Jesus enlists the disciples, just as he enlists us, that Jesus is not only just concerned about feeding people spiritually, but in this story, we see that Jesus is concerned about feeding them physically as well. And we see Jesus' hospitality at work as an expression of the grace of God, that Jesus cares, and that he not only cares about a person spiritually, but he cares about them physically as well. So I just want to encourage you today that whatever little bit you have, give it to Jesus. Pray over it and give it to Jesus and see what he is able to do in multiplying the little bit that you have. So join us this next Sunday as we continue to explore the theme, Taste and See.